Jessica Mulroney, the woman who once knew Meghan Markle better than anyone else, the woman who was practically the architect of Meghan's transition from cable television actress to royal fiancée, has reportedly been offered a $1 million deal to finally break her silence and write a tell-all memoir. Reports circling as of yesterday, February 9th, suggest that publishing houses are in a bidding war to secure the rights to what is being described as the ultimate exposure of the Duchess of Sussex. This isn't just a book deal. This is a potential dismantling of the carefully curated narrative Meghan has spent the last 6 years trying to force upon the world. For years, Jessica has been the one loose end that Meghan never tied up. The one person who holds the keys to the closet where all the skeletons are hidden. And now, it looks like that door is about to be kicked wide open. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It is good to have you here as we dive into what might be the most significant development in the ongoing saga of the Sussexes we have seen in quite some time. We have to talk about this because the timing is absolutely critical. For those of you who have been following this story from the beginning, you know exactly who Jessica Mulroney is. She wasn't just a stylist. She wasn't just a casual acquaintance. She was the best friend. She was the maid of honor in everything but title. Her children were page boys and a flower girl at the royal wedding, holding Meghan's veil front and center on the global stage. They were inseparable. Jessica was the one Meghan called first, the one she texted constantly, the one who knew every single detail of the Operation Secure a Prince strategy. We have discussed the concept of markling before, the pattern where Meghan uses people for their connections, their status, or their utility, and the moment they become a liability or she outgrows them, they are cut off without a second thought. We saw it with her own father. We saw it with her childhood friend Nanaki Pretty, and we saw it in the most brutal fashion with Jessica Mulroney. When Jessica faced a bit of controversy a few years ago regarding a disagreement with a blogger, Meghan didn't stand by her friend. She didn't offer private support while publicly staying quiet. She reportedly cut all ties immediately, distancing herself to protect her own brand. It was cold, it was calculated, and many of us thought back then, you do not want to make an enemy of the person who knows where the bodies are buried. And now, here we are in February 2026, and that silence is apparently worth $1 million. Why is this happening now? Why, after years of keeping her mouth shut, would Jessica consider talking? Well, look at the landscape. The Sussex brand is failing. The general public has grown tired of the lectures and the hypocrisy. When you lose your power and your influence, people stop fearing you. Jessica has likely watched from the sidelines as Meghan painted herself as the victim in every scenario, knowing full well that the reality was very different. Sources close to the situation are saying that this book deal is Meghan's worst nightmare. And it should be. You have to understand the level of intimacy these two shared. Jessica knows the Meghan before Harry. She knows the dating history. She knows the truth about the Yacht girl rumors that have plagued Meghan's reputation for years. Rumors that we are going to dig into very deeply in just a moment because there have been some explosive new developments on that front over the last 24 hours. Jessica knows exactly who Meghan was socializing with in Toronto and London, and on those mysterious trips abroad. But beyond the scandals, Jessica knows the personality. She knows the ambition. If anyone can dismantle the compassionate humanitarian facade, it is the woman who watched her try on the mask in the mirror before she walked out the door. The reports suggest that the memoir wouldn't just be a retelling of their friendship. It would be a receipts-based exposé. We are talking text messages, emails, and photos. We know Meghan loves to keep a paper trail for her own protection, but people often forget that communication goes two ways. Jessica has her own archive. There is a profound sense of karma in this. For years, we have watched Meghan and Harry monetize their own families. They sold out Charles, they sold out William, they sold out the late Queen, all for Netflix deals and book advances. They argued that they had a right to tell their story, a right to their truth. Well, by their own logic, doesn't Jessica Mulroney have a right to her truth? Doesn't she have a right to explain how she was used and thrown aside? It is very difficult for Meghan to take the moral high ground and demand privacy when her entire career post-Megxit has been built on invading the privacy of her in-laws. The chatter online right now is intense. People are already speculating on what chapters would be included. Would she discuss the bullying allegations? Jessica was around during that time. She likely heard Meghan complaining about the palace staff. She might even have witnessed the behavior firsthand. Would she discuss the truth about the children and the surrogacy rumors that never seemed to go away? If there is anyone outside of the immediate family who would know the truth about the timing of pregnancies and the details of the births, it would be the best friend who was there for every step of the journey. But the real reason this potential book is causing such a panic in Montecito right now isn't just about old grievances. It is about the specific dangerous connections that are starting to resurface in the public eye. We are seeing a resurgence of interest in Meghan's past associations, specifically regarding the murky world of high society networking that often crosses lines into exploitation. This brings us to the massive elephant in the room, the story that broke yesterday and is currently setting social media on fire. While the mainstream media is hesitating, trying to decide how to handle it, the internet has already done the detective work. We are talking about the Yacht Girl allegations. For years, this has been dismissed as a conspiracy theory, something to be laughed off. But yesterday, February 9th, 2026, a photograph began circulating that has stopped everyone in their tracks. We need to look at the context here. Jessica Mulroney was Meghan's stylist. She curated her image. She knew which parties Meghan was attending. She knew which friends were paying for the vacations. If this book comes out, Jessica could contextualize the photos that are leaking now. She could confirm dates. She could confirm names. She could confirm whether the woman in the hat, hiding behind oversized sunglasses on a luxury yacht, is indeed the woman who is now a duchess. The fear for Meghan is not just embarrassment. It is reputational annihilation. If Jessica confirms that Meghan was moving in circles connected to people like Ghislaine Maxwell or figures adjacent to the Epstein scandal, the fallout would be catastrophic. It is one thing to be an actress looking for work. It is another to be associated with one of the most horrific sex trafficking scandals of the century. And let's be honest, the silence from the Sussex camp regarding these new rumors is deafening. Usually, when a false story gains this much traction, we see a source close to the couple issue a denial within hours. We see a cease and desist letter. But right now, silence. And silence often speaks louder than words. Jessica's potential memoir is the leverage the world has been waiting for. It shifts the power dynamic. For a long time, people were afraid to speak out against Meghan because of the accusations of racism or misogyny that would inevitably follow. But Jessica, you can't play that card against her. She was the insider. She was the ally. If she speaks, it validates everything the critics have been saying for years. It confirms that the mean girl behavior wasn't a fabrication of the British press. It was the reality of dealing with Meghan Markle. We have to consider the financial motivation as well. $1 million is a lot of money. But for someone like Jessica, who comes from wealth and married into a prominent family, it isn't life-changing money in the way it would be for others. However, money combined with revenge, that is a powerful cocktail. And let's not forget, Jessica has a reputation to rebuild too. She was cancelled, largely because of her association with Meghan and the subsequent fallout. Writing this book could be her way of reclaiming her own narrative, of saying, "I wasn't the villain you thought I was just another victim of a narcissist." The psychological toll on Meghan right now must be immense. She has spent years curating a very specific image of herself as a global thought leader, a feminist icon, a modern-day saint. A book like this strips all that away. It reveals the calculation behind the compassion. It reveals the networking behind the romance. It turns the fairy tale into a cautionary tale about ambition at any cost. Furthermore, we have to look at how this plays into the current news cycle. Just as this book deal is being floated, we have these damaging photos resurfacing from 2016. It feels like a coordinated strike from the universe, doesn't it? The past is catching up. You can run to California, you can buy a mansion, you can buy awards, but you cannot delete your history. And if Jessica Mulroney decides to sign on that dotted line, she becomes the historian of Meghan's past. Think about the conversations they must have had over wine in Toronto. The things Meghan must have said about Harry before they were even serious. Did she talk about him as a catch or as a target? Did she mock the royal family before she was even part of it? Jessica knows. And if Jessica writes it down, the world will know. This is why the timing is so incredibly suspicious. Just as the yacht girl narrative is gaining traction again, here comes the threat of the person who could verify it all. It creates a perfect storm. On one hand, you have the visual evidence, or what appears to be evidence, circulating on Twitter and Reddit. On the other hand, you have the threat of testimonial evidence from the ex-best friend. It is a pincer movement. Meghan is being squeezed from both sides. And unlike the royal family, who maintain a dignified silence, the court of public opinion is not so forgiving. The audience that Meghan relies on, the people who buy the books and watch the documentaries, they are starting to ask questions. They are starting to see the cracks. As we move into the deeper details of what is actually being alleged right now, I want you to keep this book deal in the back of your mind. Because everything we are about to discuss regarding the events of 2016, the yachts, and the questionable company Meghan may have been keeping, all of that becomes 10 times more dangerous for her if Jessica Mulroney decides to validate it. Let's transition to the specific rumors that are making headlines right now. We need to talk about what exactly surfaced on February 9th and why it has sent the internet into such a frenzy. It is not just about a photo. It is about the company she was keeping. It is about the timeline. And it is about the frantic attempts to scrub this information from the internet before the mainstream media picks it up. But as we know, the internet is forever. We are looking at a situation where the dots are starting to connect in a way that is very uncomfortable for the Duchess. The allegations that she was a yacht girl, a term that implies being paid to provide company to wealthy men on luxury boats, have always been dismissed by her fans as sexist trolling. But when you start putting names to faces in photographs, and when those names are linked to federal investigations and convicted traffickers, it stops being trolling and starts being a legitimate public interest inquiry. I want to break down exactly what this photo shows and why people are convinced it is her. We need to look at the other women in the picture. Who are they? Why does it matter? And how does this link back to the overarching fear that Meghan has of her past being fully exposed? If Jessica Mulroney writes this book, she won't just be telling stories about bridesmaid dresses. She could potentially be corroborating Meghan's presence in some very compromising situations. Let's get into the details of this photo that has everyone talking. So let's look closely at this image that popped up on X yesterday, February 9th, and is currently being dissected by every internet sleuth from here to London. The photo in question, allegedly taken in August 2016, shows a group of women relaxing on the deck of a super yacht. In the center, we see a woman who bears a striking, undeniable resemblance to Meghan. She is wearing a wide-brimmed straw hat and oversized dark sunglasses, the classic celebrity disguise, or perhaps the classic disguise of someone who doesn't want to be recognized in that specific company. But it isn't just about who is wearing the hat. It is about who she is sitting next to. Identified in the photo by multiple sources is Karina Shuliak. For those of you who have followed the Jeffrey Epstein saga, that name should send a shiver down your spine. Shuliak was known as one of Epstein's last girlfriends, a woman who stayed by his side even as the walls were closing in. And hovering in the background of the shot, though partially obscured, is a figure that many are claiming is Ghislaine Maxwell herself. Now pause for a moment and look at the timeline. August 2016. This is supposedly right after she met Prince Harry. This is the summer where the great romance was blossoming. And yet here she is, allegedly, on a yacht with women directly tied to one of the most sordid trafficking rings in history. It raises the question, what was she doing there? Was she hedging her bets? Was the romance with Harry not as secure as she later claimed in that glossy Netflix documentary? Or was there a completely different side to her life that she successfully scrubbed from the internet until now? This brings us to the term that has followed Meghan like a shadow. Yacht girl. In Hollywood circles and the darker corners of high society, this isn't a term for someone who just enjoys sailing. It implies a transaction. It implies that young, ambitious women are invited onto these boats not for their conversation, but to serve as eye candy, or worse, for the wealthy men who own them. For a woman who brands herself as a fierce feminist, a champion of women's rights, and a global humanitarian, being associated with the yachting lifestyle is catastrophic. It completely undermines the narrative of the independent, self-made woman. It suggests that her ascent wasn't about talent or suits, but about networking in very compromising ways. There have been whispers for years that Meghan's name appears in the sealed Epstein files, or that she was at least considered a person of interest or a potential witness because of what she might have seen. The mainstream media won't touch this with a 10-foot pole because they are terrified of litigation, but the internet doesn't fear lawsuits in the same way. The fact that this photo surfaced now, just as the Jessica Mulroney book deal news broke, feels like the dam is finally breaking. It's as if the protection she once enjoyed is evaporating. And this is where Jessica Mulroney becomes the most dangerous person in Meghan's world. Jessica was the one who helped style Meghan for these trips. Jessica was the one who likely knew the itineraries. Did Jessica know she was meeting Karina Shuliak? Did Jessica advise her on what to wear to a party where Ghislaine Maxwell might be present? If Jessica accepts that $1 million offer, she doesn't even need to be malicious. She just needs to be honest. A simple confirmation like, yes, I remember Meghan going on a boat trip that August with some new friends, would be enough to validate the photo and sink Meghan's reputation for good. You have to wonder how Harry feels about this. He has spent his life fighting the tabloids, claiming they invent stories to hurt his wife. But what happens when the stories aren't invented? What happens when there is photographic evidence of his wife partying with associates of a convicted sex offender mere weeks after their first date? It makes him look foolish. It makes him look like he was duped. And Jessica Mulroney knows exactly how much Harry knew. Or didn't know. She saw the dynamic up close. She knows if Harry was kept in the dark about Meghan's yachting past. The timing of all this also explains the absolute failure of Meghan's recent business ventures. We have watched her try to launch American Riviera Orchard, her lifestyle brand, and it has been nothing short of a disaster. Why? Because you cannot sell a lifestyle of wholesome, authentic luxury when the public perceives you as inauthentic and manipulative. Who wants to buy jam or kitchenware from someone who is rumored to have such a dark, hidden history? The Duchess title was supposed to be the golden ticket, but it has become a tarnished brass ring. The public sees through it. They see the ambition. They see the ruthlessness. And now, with these photos, they see the hypocrisy. If Jessica writes this book, it won't just be a celebrity memoir. It will be a historical document of a grift. It will piece together the puzzle that we have all been trying to solve since 2018. It connects the dots between the Soho House days, the yacht trips, the sudden romance with a prince, and the subsequent isolation of that prince from his family. Jessica was the wingman for all of it. She was the one cheering from the sidelines, and now she has been discarded like an old accessory. It is interesting to see the reaction online. The post on X by user @JunoGSP7 has already racked up thousands of likes and reposts. The comments are filled with people saying, "We knew it," or "Finally, the truth comes out." There is a sense of vindication among those who have been gaslighted by the Sussex PR machine for years. We were told we were crazy for suspecting her past wasn't squeaky clean. We were told we were haters. But as the saying goes, three things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. So, here's the situation. Jessica Mulroney has a contract on her desk worth $1 million. Meghan Markle is sitting in Montecito, likely frantically calling her lawyers, watching a photo from 2016 go viral, and realizing that her control over the narrative is gone. The best friend she betrayed holds the weapon that could finish her career. And the yacht girl rumors she ignored are now knocking at her front door. It is shaping up to be a very interesting spring. If Jessica signs that deal, we are going to see a meltdown of epic proportions. And honestly, it couldn't happen to a more deserving person. We will be keeping a very close eye on this story, and as soon as we get confirmation on the book deal or more details on that photo, you will be the first to know.